Kia ora tātou, haere mai, and welcome along to Showy Ovaries, a podcast where I, full-time professional actress and part-time hardly paid podcaster Penny Ashton, find out all I can about just what menopause has in store for me. And if I'll agree with Kim Cattrall, who says, if anything, I feel more myself and love my body more now at 58 years old than ever before. Fingers crossed. As always, a quick reminder that I am not a doctor. Now, I have used this line before, I think in the very first Showy Ovaries podcast, but it bears repeating for this episode. Though I did play Dr. Margaret Cole, obstetrician gynecologist, for 3 whole episodes of Shortland St in the year 2000. You all remember it very well, I am sure. So if you need help, please seek proper medical advice rather than from me, who was merely a plot device in human form to expose Cassie's drinking. Today's guest, though, may not be a doctor, but my word, she has played one of the most iconic characters to walk the hallowed halls of the Shortland St Medical Clinic. One of the earliest cast members arriving in Shorty's first year in 1992, Rachel McKenna matured in front of our eyes on screen. From schoolgirl to alcoholic, bulimic, marrying Nick Harrison for a student loan, lightning strike survivor, wife, then ex-wife to notorious bounder Chris Warner, to the CEO of the whole goddamn clinic. Rachel popped in and out of Shorty for 24 years, and my special guest today, to celebrate 30 years of Shortland St, but mainly her fabulosity, is the woman behind the Rachel, Angela Bloomfield. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Wouldn't it be wonderful to see Rachel McKenna go through menopause as a dramatic device? Because I think she'd be hard to be around.
I think it'd be amazing to see anybody go through menopause. You know what I mean? Like on television, it just
Yeah.
hasn't happened, but it is now. We're getting like the Sex and the City ladies talking about menopause and various other things. I haven't watched. Do you watch Shortland St?
On and off.
On
So
and
I did check in with the 30th birthday, but not because just busyness, but I haven't watched it for quite some time.
Yeah. I don't know how much they talk about menopause these days.
I don't think they talk about menopause. I think they, do their best to have very few women over a certain age on that show. You're either the one lucky lady that's there.
And she's usually on reception.
Jennifer Ludlam, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or you, maybe like me, didn't look like you were over 40, so that was acceptable to have you there.
Right. So this is something that was obviously a bit of a bugbear for you.
I don't remember it being an issue for me because I think I was there from such a young age and it was a job and they kept re-employing me, and I thought that was because they liked what I did. I didn't realise there would be a cap on it, but when you step back and then you talk to a few people and you notice the people that they're letting go and then bringing in younger versions for the male counterparts, you kind of go, oh, is this a thing?
That's kind of gross. So did you choose to leave the last time you left?
Yes, I chose to leave.
Do you think you were immune to that though, because you are Rachel McKenna, who's been there for so long?
In terms of hitting a certain age and being,
I feel like they would want you back regardless.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus that says you're unbleepable?
You can say fuckable.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Unless you don't want to, but I'll say it
No,
for
okay,
you.
you say it. And I think it is sort of 40. I think maybe I would have been a little bit immune to it. Maybe if I decided to stop having Botox or something and they'd gone, oh, Ange, what are you doing there?
Right.
Or if I'd gone, you know what, I'm not gonna watch what I eat. Maybe they would have kind of, I don't know, tried to let me leak out the back door.
So were they on you for all of that, or is that in your mind?
No, that was something that, I mean, when you say it's in your mind, no, it's a very real thing in my industry.
Yeah.
And I allowed myself to rate some of it, to see it that it did have value. And then also, I think, potentially, I was on TV from the age of 19. So, and I was there for sort of 7 years, and then I went back, and then I had another break. So I think when I went back in that last stage, I would have been in my late 30s, and I didn't look like I did 10 years earlier. And I was like, oh, okay, well.
So you didn't like what you saw on screen?
It wasn't that I didn't like what I saw, but I knew there was a way to undo it just a little bit. And it's interesting because the show is, I'm going to say this right now, I love the show. Great. And people work hard on that show, and I don't want to take anything away from them. In basic terms, we don't spend a lot of time lighting. We light from the grid. We shoot fast, which means we don't take much time to light. And so I wasn't in an environment, I had to do what I could do to counteract some of that.
Yeah. I think about with RuPaul's Drag Race, I mean, how many lights is shining at RuPaul?
Yeah, totally. You're not seeing anything.
Nothing. at all.
And so I remember, because we met when we did a short film.
Yes.
And for that, I was really adamant. I did go see my lady, but I said the teeniest, tiniest bit in this place.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be on film, it was going to be lit beautifully, and I wanted to look like me, and I wanted to look like a mum. And yeah, so I'm very specific about when I do it and why I do it.
But then you carry that guilt with you if you do it. Like I get Botox.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I read an article about you, which was I thought it was a very stupidly presented article. You know, you were there opening your heart and being honest and open, and the headline was Angela's Botox confession. And I just read, and it made me furious looking at that. And you came through like the 2000s with this terrible time where, you know, like Paris Hilton's boyfriend leaks a sex tape and she's the slut. You know, women are always upheld to something that men haven't been at all. And just, you know, and then if you stray from it, you're a slut or you're a prude and all that sort of stuff. And you have to have this way that you look. And you came through all of that. So I don't want you to feel guilty about that you did some of that. You know what I mean?
I don't. And the weird thing about that particular article is I hadn't done a lot of media specific like that, like with someone where you do strip back and be really honest. And I actually sat down with her thinking she would ask about my separation from my husband and being ready to talk about that. That was my confession. And in actual fact, she had no knowledge of that at all because I'd kept it so private.
Yeah.
And so the Botox was a flippant, honest remark. And when I remember I was away at my girlfriend's, it was a birthday and I knew it was coming out and we all grabbed it and I was just like, what? Yeah. Why did you put that in there?
And it was quite dismissive reading that. I felt that. It was like, oh, soap actress, whatever. You know, it's like, oh my God, so often these women's magazines, etc., forget that we are people. I mean, I had one article in Women's Day when I was talking about my epilepsy medication making me hungry because I wanted everybody to know that this one could because I hadn't figured it out for 16 years.
Yeah.
And just some of the pull quotes they take and the pictures, they were like, oh, we don't want you to wear multicolours, which is my thing. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I hated the pictures. And I was like, oh, I just wish that I'd stood up for myself.
It's so hard. It's like, hey, we want you, but we don't want you. We want the version of you that we want. And I mean, I learned that from a really young age and also learned that they don't need that much. They don't need your life story. Right. They want a little bit, and that's enough for them. And once I realised that, I mean, I don't think I ever did an article about my cat, but like they literally don't want for much.
Yeah, right.
It was like, I've bought a house or I'm going, you know, and so I was like, I put it in a place that was good for me, you know. Yeah.
It's interesting too though because like in my world I'm always trying to get publicity because I'm in theatre, whereas you probably sign contracts where you have to do publicity as part of it. So we probably have a very different relationship with I'm like, please for God's sake interview me, and you're like, God no, I've had enough. So these are the different sides of the entertainment industry.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Now they're just like, hey, come talk to us. I'm like, why? I don't need to. And but they know how old I'm turning this year and they've already gone, hey, we know it's a big birthday. I'm like, oh. And I probably will sit down and chat with them because I think it's interesting. And the thing I've always taken from those articles where I was sharing something that was important to me is the response you get from people going, thank you so much for talking about that. Yeah. So I unintentionally talked about postnatal depression and got such a massive response. And I'd forgotten, you know, that's what it's there for. Yeah. In actual fact.
Yeah, not always, but quite often.
Yeah, that it can be there for that. Yeah.
And of course, now that you're in real estate, it's good to have publicity for that sort of thing.
I know. My bosses say that all the time. They're like, why aren't you doing more? I'm like, it's not going to, the two worlds aren't meant to be buddies.
Yeah, right. Yes.
I keep them very separate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to do my longer introduction for you, which will probably throw up a few more questions, and we will get to menopause, but there's just so much.
I know. It's so relaxing.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad. That's good. Oh, one thing I did note was that Rachel McKenna's Wikipedia page is about 10 times as long as yours.
Oh, well, I mean, that's okay. I'm more private than her.
Yeah, she's got a lot of storylines to wade through. That's for sure. So anyway, here we go. Angela Bloomfield was born in 1972 and grew up in West Auckland. She landed the plum role of Rachel, daughter to clinic CEO Dr. McKenna, at age 19. And from what I can tell, then sort of kick-started a love-hate relationship with her character, committing to playing her on and off for years, but also needing quite a few breaks away from Rachel's personality, which was a little bitter, hard-nosed, and alcoholic. Would you say? Yes, right. In her time away, she didn't go too far, though, as she directed over 100 episodes of Shortland Shortland St, along with some Go-Girls and Jackson's Wharf. She also acted in the movies Bonjour Timothy and The Frighteners, wrote, directed and starred in a short film featuring me, the award-winning Linda's List, and appeared in both Dancing with the Stars and Celebrity Treasure Island, where I read that you felt you were maybe on the receiving end of some interesting edits. Would you say?
Probably. Oh, look, I think we all were.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
She has received numerous Best Acting Awards, New Zealand's Sexiest Woman Awards, and somewhat creepily, the Best New Zealand Breasts Award.
I think they've only done that once. They realised it was a mistake as soon as it happened.
I think there's been two, because I was reading about it, which is the Fairform National Breast Pride Week. I get what they were trying to do.
It's just to promote good bras or underwear, but it's
creepy.
Yeah. They selected 6 of us, so I was in great company. I think Nikki Watson, who I thought would win because I thought it was the biggest breasts as opposed to the and there were other beautiful women, and then we went along to a shop and purchased underwear, and then at the end they gave me a prize and we all stood in a line. And
wow.
Yeah.
That's
creepy.
It's creepy. It's creepy. I read that and went, what? Anyway.
What's creepier is that my 17-year-old son has to deal with this in his life.
Right.
So his mates go, your mum got best breasts.
Yeah, right.
That's when it gets the layers that I go, oh, sorry, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, he's your son. This is what comes of having you in their life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's not grumpy about it. I think he's a little bit proud of it.
I should hope so.
Quietly.
Yeah. Okay, I'll finish this introduction. In 2020, Angela pivoted in what seemingly might be seen now with the changing market as a slightly challenging new career direction of real estate, but yet you're saying it's actually still pretty great.
Yeah,
marvelous.
It's fine.
So once again, please welcome New Zealand acting royalty, Angela Bloomfield. Yay. There you go. There's a lot.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear it all in a row, in a line.
Yes.
And funny to hear you say that my Rachel McKenna's Wikipedia page is a lot longer than Angela's. I'm like, I'm fine with that.
I thought you might be.
Yeah. I'm far more private a person, and hers is on TV.
So you found her a little bit of a harsh personality to have to occupy.
Oh, look, I had not had any formal training as an actor, so I started off, I suppose, reading Stanislavski and being told quite a bit acting is being, work from what you know, and I actually don't disregard that as a great acting tool, but I took her on at 19 and I did that. I took her on. I wasn't method acting, but I didn't have any tools in my toolbox of how to find a character. So I used me and it was exhausting.
Right.
But in terms of ever stepping back from playing her to do other things, it was never about her. It was about what else can I do? I need to make space for opportunity.
Yeah. It feels like a rabbit hole sometimes, doesn't it, as well? Because I've had a lot of other friends in Shortland St that have just had to get out, was their thing. Oh, my God, I can't go back there.
Right.
But, I mean, obviously you've hung around for a lot longer.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, golden handcuffs is one of the sayings, which I go, I like that. It's so true.
Please explain.
Golden handcuffs. So it's like it provides so much great things and money,
particularly,
and as an actor to be working year after year, but you're handcuffed to it in a way where it's troubling and it's challenging
because it's such high turnover. It's like I can't imagine having to learn all those lines.
There's that, and as an actor, I think we all just strive to go, well, where's the other character I'm going to play?
Yeah.
And I've watched so many of my friends leave at varying intervals, and some go off and play 10 other characters, and I'm quietly envious because I struggle to get reemployed as an actor because no one can see me as anything other than her, or anything other than her type, and there's so much more to me.
Yeah.
But it's, enough time has to pass that they go, oh, I even, got to the point where I texted a writer the other day and went, are you doing another season? Because I don't think I've even auditioned for your show.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I didn't think you wanted to be an actor anymore. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I've always said I will probably act until I'm very, very old. And the way I see it, there'll be a whole lot less competition. And that's sort of like 60 to 70, 70 to 80 bracket. So I'm like, bring it on. It's a job where, yes, we are going to and have talked about there's this over 40 aspect, but then you jump into a land where it's just, all characters need to be played by someone. And there are, maybe not on Shortland St, there are going to be pieces where the story is about older people.
Well, and I think that's changing. And I think, we got shows like, I was watching Julia, which is about Julia Child on HBO, and it's just like old people being nice to each other. And I was like, oh, how nice is this? And how unusual. Like the Golden Girls was a long time ago, and to have stuff that really focuses on older people, and I think we just need to start. And just the fact that women are much more involved in many different areas and are writing things for women, but there's still so much stereotyping around the archetypes.
There is, and we don't have a funding body that has a moneyless pit. We're not like Australia or America. We have to be really specific about where we put it, and we've also got the people that are in that selection space being very conservative or risk adverse. We're growing up now with Netflix. We know any story can be told, but, our 2 key feature channels are still sort of meeting a specific need.
Yeah, or what they perceive to be a specific need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to go back to a question. So when you started playing Rachel, did they hand you Stanislavski, or did you?
No. I think someone said Stanislavski, and I was just like, and I've still got them I don't think I finished reading them. I was just like, okay, I'll buy some books. But they also did this really forward-thinking thing at Shorty, because there were a whole bunch of us that were untrained. That I seem to remember that Ange doctrine was plucked from school.
Right.
In a kind of like, let's go around schools and audition people in a way like that. So they would take us away for acting workshop weekends with people like Stuart Deviney or Raymond Hawthorne, and I got so much out of that.
Right.
I mean, I think some people just had fun and were kids, but for me, I was like, no, I do want to learn more about this. And I was coming in as a child, so I was hanging out with Paul Gittins and Liz McRae, and I was just watching them and doing what they do.
And there was a lot of Toi Whakaari graduates. Was there any them and us sort of feel?
No, not at all.
Right.
No, not at all.
Nice.
People were so welcoming.
Was it quite the family at the beginning?
It really was. And I was intimidated by that, and I would sort of hide in the corner or hide in my room. One, because I did feel like a fraud.
Oh.
And I was young, and this was my first workplace. And I remember Brian Linane going, Ange, you have to make friends with these people. That's how this works.
Right.
And I'm like, does it? I'm so like, when I look back and think about, it's all fear-based. But I was like, does it? Isn't it just okay if I do a good job?
Right.
And he was like, no.
Oh, okay.
We're here for too many hours of the day for us not to be connected. And I believed him, and I've made the best of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing, I don't know, have you realised this as you've gotten older, that we're all stupidly insecure? Like everybody has doubt.
Yeah.
Like even those most probably talented, experienced, trained actors.
More so? I think the more niche you are, or the more you've channeled yourself in a particular direction, the more danger of that imploding. There's films about it, like the violinist who's played from a young age, and now all the pressure, and, any musician or superstar in America is dealing with that. But yeah, it comes so quickly though, doesn't it? I watch my daughter who's became so self-aware, and I mean the amount of times that I go, no one's looking at you, not in a bad way, but they're thinking about themselves and they're worried about themselves, so there's no extra space for them to look at you. But you can't convince a young person of that.
No, or anybody.
Whereas now I'm a little bit more, what's that lovely saying, what someone thinks about me is none of my business.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And also, I don't have time to I have my people, I have my family, and I'm super busy, and I don't have time to be insecure. Right. Do you know what I mean? There isn't, you just got to carry on.
I still have, like when I'm writing a new show, that's when it's, because I do these theatre shows, and I usually take months to get them up. And then just before I do that first show, it's like, fucking terrifying, and I'm like, everything sucks, I'm terrible, blah blah. My husband's good for me in those sorts of moments, but then usually, and then it works itself out. But and sometimes I could just see one person not enjoying a show, and you just look straight at that person and stuff. So it's still all there, but I am confident in my ability to create theatre that people like now. But there's still shit in the back of your head. Yeah,
I think if anything for me, I'm single, so dating is my one little, like, that will rear any insecurity. And I watch myself, I watch myself sort of twist and turn and cringe and start to really microscopically look at my life, because someone might come in to my space and look at me as a person, and I'm suddenly going, what is it that they're seeing?
You feel judged?
I just feel like part of me goes, well, I want them to like me.
You want to be impressive.
I want them to like me. But then I notice when someone dumps me, it's like that happens all the time. But like if something doesn't work out, I'm immediately relieved.
Oh.
So that's got to be a little indicator learner for me that that I need to work on the whole not giving a shit what people think at the get-go and going, this is me.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And are you doing that online dating or?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole extra element that you have to deal with that other people don't.
Yes, and I use that as my reason why I'm single. Nothing to do with me as a person. I'm like, the reason because we go, what, people go, if you're single, what hope have the rest of us got? I'm like, that's a ridiculous statement. But then I go, no, it's because of Shortland St. And it's because people may be intimidated by the idea of me. And then I go, no, Ange, it's not that. It's about time.
No, I would say it bloody is that.
Right.
Yeah, because people can find, well, obviously you're a strong woman as well, and that can be intimidating. My husband's attracted to strong ladies, so that works well for me. But not everybody is.
I didn't realise that.
What?
That was an option. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that people would be attracted to strong people.
Right.
But, like, there are a whole bunch of men out there who would flat out refuse to have an outspoken partner.
Yep, the patriarchy is still very
And I
much
go,
alive.
oh, well, that's what I am, so sorry.
Yeah, and you don't need that. It's nice to have. That's what I was like. In my wedding vows, I said, you don't complete me, and it got a massive... Because I was like, you don't complete me, you compliment me and compliment me. But, and we are a team together. And if somebody can't take who I am, then they can fuck off. It's how I look at it, definitely.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it too. And I just have to not get so sort of like, oh, someone might like me and let everything sort of fall away. Go, no, yes, they might, and that's their win. Do not start to adjust.
Yes, I had a partner once who had a lot of mental health issues, and I started to adjust my behaviour so as not to set them off. And then I realised that wasn't me. And that, I was with them for 3 years, so that gets in. But I was really young too. I was really young. And then once that was done, I was like, I am never doing that again. But it's that learning curve.
It takes a while to realise the notion of own your own shit. And I remember talking to people through life where I'm wanting to say, hey, your partner cannot spin around your jealousy or spin around whatever this is. You need to put your hand up and own it and not ask them to change. Yeah.
But like New Zealand's sexiest woman and New Zealand's best breasts. If you can't find a man, indeed, what hope is there for him?
Oh, look, I think
is that on your Tinder profile?
Yeah. Maybe it should be. Yeah, I don't know. Right. Let's not dig into that.
Do you have Shortland St on your Tinder profile?
No.
Right. Okay. I was just curious.
Imagine that. Because I have people that go, I didn't think it was you. I thought it was someone with your photos. I actually don't have...
Somebody catfishing.
Yeah, I don't have, which is like, how long can you do that for? Most people I meet don't bring Shortland St up for a very long time.
Really?
They're smart enough to know that that's not going to be a key ingredient to connect with me.
Right.
And it's almost, for me, because it's become a thing where they don't mention it. When someone mentions it within the first couple of minutes, it's almost like
First couple of minutes is pretty intense.
I'm like, meh.
Yeah, right. I mean, but it's part of, it's been your work for 24 years of your life.
Yeah.
So you can't completely divorce yourself from that, can you?
No, it's not that. I just think they're being wise enough to go, I'm not going to look like a fan or like I know too much about it, because that's not going to, connect us.
The one very vague idea of knowing what that feels like was I had been on 2 Tinder dates. And it was funny too, because I'm like, do I actually like you, or are you just the least shit person that's messaged me? I can't quite work it out. And one guy messaged me though, but it was about the time I was doing a bit of social commentary stuff on the tally, and he was like, I find you really funny on breakfast. Yeah, and I was like, delete, I'm gone, out. So yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, it just feels a bit stalkerish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you were on Tinder, you've been on Tinder, but now you're married. Did you meet your partner on Tinder?
No, I met him in a bar. The old-fashioned times. We both did a poetry set at a poetry open mic.
I don't know if I'm going to have to resort to sort of like a radio competition or reality TV show, but I feel like I'm open to it.
I feel like that would go very well.
Yeah.
Except it would probably be Rachel's something. Rachel's, yeah.
But it's just about meeting people.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who you're going to connect with. And it takes me a while to kind of...
I've got the title.
Okay.
Is it you or is it me?
Oh, my gosh. so good.
It's like, no, it's not me, it's you.
It's you. It's always been you. It's just that thing of like time and, so I would love someone else to do that groundwork and just line a whole lot of people up, and I'll just go tick, 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 tick.
Just make sure it's not the people that do Married at First Sight.
No. It couldn't be Warners.
Have nothing in common.
No, because they do Celebrity Treasure Island. So I know all about that.
Right, okay. Well, you heard it here first. We'll try and get some pictures out. And
that sounds good. Yeah.
Now we should probably get to the...
I don't mind a web series, okay? I don't mind it. If it doesn't have to be on, broadcast TV, it's fine if it's on a web series.
Outsource the groundwork of action. Because it's exhausting.
That's just it.
Dating can be exhausting.
Yeah.
You're like, oh God, I have to go through all that again, I don't want to... I love my husband, but you do think, going back to that. But no, I'm sure it'll be great. As soon as I say
it is great. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, right. So, now, first other question. Have you any relationship to the father of the nation, Dr. Bloomfield?
No, but curiously, he looks like my dad and my brother.
Well,
it's just a little bit unusual that there is similarities. So no, I don't know him, but I haven't kind of ever done some DNA search or something, and I kind of figure maybe
far back.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, now that we've sort of touched on quite a lot of this already, but the first question that I ask everyone is, what has your relationship with your body been like through your life, and what journey has it been on?
I feel very lucky, really, because I was born with a body that wanted to stay reasonably little.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I grew up dancing, so that was particularly physical in terms of like I never really looked and went. It was looking after itself.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember in my mid-teens, Mum being nervous about my ballet dancing progressing too much further, because there may have been when you watch prima ballerinas and things like that at that stage, they were tiny, and how much tinier could I get, you know? And I remember going to the ballet maybe sometime in my 20s and seeing fuller women or even normal and being so like excited about that. And then I suppose I transitioned to Shortland St, and I was still at an age where everything was kind of looking after itself without me really having to do anything.
Estrogen was flying around.
I literally spent my 20s eating pasta and bread. Like I've always said, I'll be totally fine if I ever have to go to jail. I love bread and butter. Like I can live off bread and butter.
I think there's a bit more to it in jail than...
That's a very basic comment. You'll get to know me. I have very kind of extreme basic comments.
Okay.
But I think it was probably, sometime between 25 and 30 that I went, oh, okay, so if I want to stay looking svelte or whatever, I need to go to the gym. And I started to go to the gym. But I don't really, That said, I looked back at pictures of myself and I knew at the time I was critical of myself.
Yeah.
So even though I was lucky, I look back now and go, you wasted a lot of energy being critical of yourself.
And I reckon that comment is every single person I've interviewed for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's we are so hard on ourselves, and you go back and look and just go, what was wrong with me? But
So that's what I try to remember now when I look in the mirror, is I go, because I know 5 years from now I'm going to look back and go, you were banging. So I look in the mirror and it's adjusting that default, and I go, looking good, because I just think, well, that'll be the truth 5 years from now. But I remember sort of feeling like my shape was changing, and then almost in that same 5-year period, I got pregnant.
Yeah.
So then it was really changing.
Did you enjoy being pregnant?
Yeah, I did. It was I had a very sort of, I remember saying to people, it was very romantic the first time. Do you know what I mean? Okay. You're sort of watching these changes and...
It's like a rom-com.
A little bit, you know what I mean? Like, oh, look. And then the second time you're like, it's not romantic at all.
Right.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, and it's,
That's why I've chosen not to. It's absolutely terrifying as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if anything, I've been more, and this will be to do with Shorty, I think, more fixated on how I appear shoulders up than shoulders down in a way.
Right.
Because that's how I was seeing
With
myself.
close-ups.
Yeah,
right,
MCU. Okay. Because people would talk about getting boob jobs and stuff, and I'd be like, oh no, I don't care about that. And no one sees that. No one sees that.
Boobs.
No one sees that. That was a complete load of rubbish, because I had Max in 2004, and they had shown a pregnant picture for all the 6 of us.
Who chose?
I have no idea. A magazine.
Imagine if it was the voting part. Like,
a magazine chose.
Even though I love that. I think it's so gross, and yet I've brought it up at least 12 times.
And so 2006, I'd had both my babies, and I remember seeing the picture, and I, at the time, probably didn't feel cute in my jeans and my white t-shirt, but I looked back and I did look cute in my jeans and my white and rather large boobs because I'd had 2 babies, and
right,
I mean, so it was just like, whoever, if they voted on that, and then I won, but I was just like a load of rubbish.
Right, okay. Yeah. Okay. So then after your babies, how did your relationship change with yourself?
I feel like it's constantly improving.
Great.
Yeah, like we do a lot of chats with me and my girlfriends about use of language, especially when our children were born, about, we'd be putting on our togs at summertime, and you do immediately go, I remember one summer I went, ooh, look at and my girlfriend went, because there were 4 girls in the room. And I just stopped talking.
Amazing.
And I think she went, I love my body in these togs. It's constantly on my mind to be aware of how I talk about, one, my physicality, but even just my person and my mental headspace in front of my children.
Yeah, right.
And just to be framing it in a positive way, that whole thing of the language of like, that was a stupid choice as opposed to I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been years in the making, really, and probably started. Mature. I've got teachers as friends. They are smart.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like being nearly 50, we actually learn some shit along the way, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And I just think it's so important to just do all we can to eliminate shame around bodies and everybody's life, and particularly for your daughters and things. Has it still gotten into their heads from the insidious media?
I definitely think, I mean, I couldn't share anything about Maya because that's not right, but it's in our lives. Yeah. It's in our lives, and it's something that we will have to walk through, and there are conversations that happen around it.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you've ended up at a quite positive and happy space right now on the cusp of 50 with your good self.
I think so. Like, as I said, there is that sort of anxiety when you think about meeting new people, and but then I go
getting nude.
Yeah. And then you just go, oh, look, you're too old to worry, and that's what it is. If they don't see the gift that is you right now, if they're fixated on something visual, then they need to make for the door then.
And they also need to go to that stereotype of the 22-year-old, and like when I was looking on Tinder profiles and see what the spread of their age interest was.
Can you see that?
I think you can.
Oh my God, I should do that.
I don't know. I think you can. Oh, maybe I'm getting that wrong, but I seem to remember something about that and just being like, ugh, gross.
Yeah, totally.
Like, who wants to go out with somebody that doesn't have your same cultural touchstones? If you don't know who the Dukes of Hazzard are, you can fuck off.
Yeah, totally.
Obviously, some people and it works, and I have some friends that have some quite big gaps, but I just want, but particularly, they're not 22. Let's put it that way. The women are.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why are we having to live up to that?
Exactly.
When they're not. And men are allowed to age and just age.
That's
just
right.
Age.
Yeah. It was Amy Schumer said, until white spiders come out of there when they ejaculate. They can do that forever. On that note, so now, did you know anything about menopause at all?
I mean, I think I knew that it was the moment when your body can't make babies anymore. Right. In basic terms, I've known about it all my life.
Exactly.
And I remember asking, I don't think I was obsessed with it or anything, but I do remember asking people, like, when did you go through menopause? Like being younger and just asking people about it.
That's interesting. And what do you think sparked that?
I don't know. I really don't know. But people have gone through it at such a variety of ages.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I know when my mum went through menopause.
Did she talk about it?
Not overly. She talked about it in terms of she what would you call it? It's not really talking about it. It's more like, oh my God, I'm so hot. I can't get she had this like tie that was almost like a wheat bag, but it was like a thin tie that you put in the freezer. So she'd go, I need my tie. And she'd wrap it around her neck to cool herself down.
Right.
So that was all I knew. I knew that it was happening, and
she was referring to it, but without explaining too detailed. Right.
She didn't sit down and Whereas I've already talked to Maya about menopause in a way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because this is my whole MO for this whole thing. Is like, how have we not been told and how do we not know?
Yeah.
And I think I'm too informed because I'm seeing menopause like everywhere.
Yeah.
But just so that you know, it's not just about a few things, but it can have this whole raft of things. So to be on the watch out for them and don't put yourself on antidepressants if you don't have to.
Totally. I'm not antidepressants because I went on a mild form when I got postnatal depression. And when that happened, knowing that it was a hormonal change, I went, well, I'd be totally open to doing this if I felt these triggers.
No, I get that,
at
absolutely.
menopause.
But often HRT will do that rather than antidepressants, and asylums were filled with women in the 1800s who were deemed insane, whereas they were just menopausal. So antidepressants where they're warranted, but to actually know what the trigger is when they're not.
Yeah. And I should say flat out too, I haven't been to a doctor and talked about menopause.
Oh.
And I need to.
Yes.
It's just a time thing. So anything I say has no doctor background at all. It's just my experience.
Dr. Margaret Cole is in the building, so everything's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Also, what sort of symptoms have you been having?
Well, it's interesting, and I just want to divert back tiny to like why the kids know about it is because it wasn't like an excuse that I can use not to, when I got angry with them, but I had to make them aware that some of my mood or my response to things was based on emotional shifts.
Yeah.
So I would say, I generally run normal temperature, but basically I've been known to wear a puffer jacket from sort of May to October. For as long as the heat is out, I would have a puffer jacket on. And I remember a few years ago coming out of summer and going, I'm just so hot all the time. And then not wearing a puffer jacket that whole winter.
Wow.
And that's when we started to talk about what this thing, which I had no knowledge of, called perimenopause.
Yes, exactly.
And so we would sit down and discuss it. So I would say I've been perimenopausal for a few years. Emotional, I don't want to say moods because it's not that. It's an inability to control your rage.
Yes.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah. And you are not alone. Absolutely. That's quite common.
Night sweats.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is so annoying. Those would be the main two, I would say.
And I think it's really good to inform them that, because some women have thought they're going mad with these rage bursts and they don't know why, but it's good that you know that and that you tell them that so that you can all work through it together. That's great.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. They're just not allowed to say, well, you are menopausal
or
anything like that.
Yeah, is it your time of the month, Mum?
Yeah, because teenagers are challenging enough as it is without giving them little bits of ammo to that they can come back and go, are you this? Or are you? It's like, don't. You're not allowed to bring it up like that.
So are you feeling any of these symptoms are debilitating?
No, and that's the thing. Because I've had a few discussions with women in my life that are newer to my life, and I feel like they're overcome with the rushes of heat or, those changes. And so I'm just one of those people that want to understand what it is so that I can remedy it and then walk on by.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's been more this year from it. Like I don't get night sweats anymore and I don't wear my puffer though.
It'll be good for
I'm just constantly hot now.
Your clothing bill will go down.
Yeah, totally. But in actual fact, this year I've been like, no, I do want to go to the doctor and sit down and do a blood test. And because I briefly spoke to someone when I had COVID, because I thought, my periods have stopped. And then I got COVID and they came back and I was like,
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, what? And she was like, I said, I'm in menopause. And she went, you're not. If you're having a period, you're not. I said, but I haven't had one for ages. She said, you're not. You're still. And she talked about going on hormone replacement once it finishes. And I was absolutely excited about that.
You can do it before it finishes.
Well,
you absolutely can.
Oh, okay. That's good to know because I was like, I'd like to alleviate some of these symptoms now.
And you can. And so this is what I've sort of come to realise is that conflicting advice given by various different doctors. If you're unhappy with that, just do your own research and find other doctors out there who are potentially a little more informed around it.
Mm-hmm. That was a Healthline doctor in COVID. I was just like, I need to get to a doctor. And she was like, you can't leave your house. And I was like, but I need to get to my doctor. And she was like, let's talk talk it through.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Then they're not, I doubt they're menopause experts. Yeah, but no, you absolutely can. If you want some help with particularly, it's, HRT is really good for joint pain, rage, night flushes, hot flashes, all that sort of stuff. But there is some risk associated with it around if you haven't had a hysterectomy, you have to take progesterone to protect against cancer, and there's a slightly raised chance of that, but it's a very small raise compared to what was traditionally thought, because for about 20 years they didn't prescribe it because there was a big study and it was not, they didn't interpret data in some of the right ways. But if you look into it, and then you can see if it is right for you. Like if you have a history of breast cancer in the family and things like that, you have to take that into account. I'm not on it because I actually don't really have any symptoms at all, but I'm just keen to find out everything I can. But a lot of people take it, and like Peter Mathias is basically an evangelist for HRT. She's slightly older than you. Esther, who used to be on Good Morning, all these people just love that. So yeah, I'll
go talk to them. I'll go talk to them because this year I think I have noticed, and that's when I just go straight on to old Google. But yeah, hopping out of bed in the morning, my feet were sore, and I'd look it up, and they'd go, "It's about menopause." Yeah, and then dehydration. It's about menopause. Yep. Just not realizing that there's all these,
like dry mouth,
just constantly dehydrated.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There's like 40 symptoms of perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't know all the 40. God, I need to
find them
you can listen. I need to tick them.
Yeah. And like, because Robin Malcolm had just a whole fistful of them, and so she's on HRT and loves it. Most people I've talked to are sort of a little bit older, I would say. Mm-hmm. That's why when I asked you, I was like, you're probably not old enough yet. So yeah, but
no, I am.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure how old you were because you do look eternally young. But yeah, but there are people that have taken it.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because why make it harder than it already is?
Exactly. So yeah, and if you don't have to suffer, why should you? As long as you are completely informed of all the risks, etc. So do you have girlfriends that are on HRT?
No, I don't.
Really? Right? No one at all?
No. We're all sort of pre-50.
Right.
But I think we're just feeling that perimenopausal sort of symptom stuff and talking about it. And my mum is not. I mean, I think she's probably of the era when it was...
She would have been.
...bad and could affect you in worse ways. And so, and even now, I was under the impression that you go through menopause and all those symptoms end. Mm. And because my mum would often say, and I don't think she even knew, she would go, yes, I have that. And I'd be thinking, but you're well through. And then when I spoke to the Healthline doctor, she was like, she was on HRT and she said, I'll just be on it for the rest of my life because it abates everything. And I said it to Mum, I'm like, you could go on it now because she gets hot flushes and,
How old is
memory, 72.
Yeah. Has she had a hysterectomy at all?
No.
Yeah, there's stuff about my mum has just gone on it and she's 75. Mm-hmm. But there is stuff about when you're a bit older, there's more sort of various risks. Some people say you can't do it at all after 10 years of having a period, but that's not true because my mother and she had a hysterectomy at 40. But older women can. But there are some other associated risks that you should look into.
Yeah.
But if you start it, then you can just keep going.
Yeah.
Like Esther's like, you'll take it from my cold dead hands. And so is Peter. So some people just take it for a bit, but it actually has prophylactic effects against dementia, heart disease and osteoporosis and things like that. I know. Sometimes I'm like, why don't we just give it to everybody?
Oh, belly fat, menopause, perimenopause. Yeah. That's probably the
one.
It
can help with that.
Yeah, that's the one that we all kind of go, harumph.
Yeah.
But then when you know it is that, rather than trying to run around and be more physical or eat differently, you go, these things aren't going to fix these things.
Diagnosis is everything.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Understanding why things are happening makes you accept things much better.
Absolutely. It gives you a reason. It's not an excuse. You go, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it was funny because, so I went away to do Treasure Island and that was when my period ended. So I was fixated on what is it going to be like to be there and have your period. And I definitely felt emotional. There was one day where I actually said to the camera that I was crying and they were like, you're right. I'm like, I'm just hormonal. Because I was thinking I should have my period by now.
Right.
I've been away like 21 days and I came back and it never. So Treasure Island basically stopped my period.
Did you enjoy the experience?
I did. I didn't enjoy every day,
Yeah.
but I certainly, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, okay,
so that's the level of enjoyment.
Absolutely.
And that's a level of growth and that's a level of learning and meeting amazing people.
Yeah, I'm so competitive. I feel like I'd come across looking like a dick.
Well, see, You wouldn't.
Maybe.
You have to be okay with the outcome. And
Yeah.
my girlfriend grilled me on being okay with the outcome.
Right.
And I kind of forgot about that. I became fixated on survival.
Right. And did you form alliances and all that sort of stuff?
Well, no, not really. And I suppose this is about the edit thing. But like, yes, I'm naturally a competitive person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm driven and ambitious. And if there's a board game out, I want to win it.
Yeah.
Then I had children. And I realized there's a level of, it's not about winning, and you can't try and beat your children at Monopoly. It doesn't really read well, you know. So you have to,
real life.
You have to pull it back a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, the level of my like not needing to win. But I remember my girlfriend and I, very young, we'd play Scrabble all the time, and I never bet her. And once I bet her, so I made her sign a document saying that I'd bet her.
Wow.
Okay,
but maybe I'm not so bad after.
Totally. But so my mum was like, "Oh my God, you're so competitive. What is this going to look like?" I was put with a group of people that are professional athletes who live and die by their competitiveness.
Yeah.
So I'm not competitive in that circle.
On that scale, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know who I am in that room, actually. It was terrifying to watch me. I was a shriveled version of myself. Right. But no, I really enjoyed it. It just did take my period away.
Right. Wow. I mean, and are you, because that's another woman that I interviewed, Jane Caro, she was like, that's the best thing in the world, not having a period anymore.
I think when you're perimenopausal, you still ride a 4-week rhythm of like hormones and stuff. And I have had it a couple of times.
Yeah,
and when it comes back, you're just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's back. And
because especially if you've made a mental adjustment.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't. It was just that thing of like, oh, it's here.
Right.
That's right.
Because I was almost like, I started looking into all of this when a friend of mine nearly died from bleeding out, with some really heavy flooding, which can happen. And then I was like, oh God, all this shit. I just think I would just rather have my period, because I've had quite light and easy periods. So I was like, I just feel like I just want my period for the rest of my life than have to deal with all of that. But then other people are like, it's the best thing in the world.
No, God. If someone said your period for the rest of your life, or you could take HRT, and, I'd be like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I definitely post-babies had like weird periods with clots, and like you go, oh my God, I'm dying. But I wasn't. But your periods do change. Like I remember that, where it would be the colour and everything, and that's probably when I confirmed I was perimenopausal.
Right.
Because it wasn't the same.
Yeah. And mine certainly, like, I would have a burst of period and then nothing for 4 days, and then like a big period.
Just random. Yeah.
I timed it with trying to start using a menstrual cup. Which,
oh no!
Yeah, which wasn't great for flooding and things like that. And I've talked about this before. It's quite a fleshy enterprise. It's very visceral.
Yeah, no, I just can't bring myself.
They can actually last a lot longer than a larger tampon and things. But yeah, I was just like, actually, no, I think I'm just going to go back to tampons.
Yeah.
Sorry, environment.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I used it for about a year.
Oh, wow. That's commendable. You gave it a good go.
And I ordered a size small.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had children. And it was like, I haven't ordered a size small since I was 8.
Did it fit?
No, that it was because I'm actually, older. It was like, no, you need a heavy duty one.
Oh, no.
So I had to buy another larger one.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay.
Was there anything else that you thought you might want to talk to around menopause at all?
No, only that thing that, you've talked about. I mean, my girlfriend brought it up the other day. She said, when we see each other, we're always having such robust conversations. And I said, yeah, but that's what we do. And it's super helpful if it's not talking about the kids and strategies, and it's talking about ourselves. And I feel very lucky that I have that. But not everyone has that. And so I suppose people go, it's an overshare, but I try to bring that to people's lives, Just it's all just stuff, not labeling it as something that should be talked about less or talked about more. Do you know what I mean? Everything needs an even amount of screen time. Yeah. And I wish that I talked about menopause to my mum, but it's a different age and a different stage in terms of the conversations and the honesty that you have, whereas I'm super transparent with my kids.
Yeah. Well, and it was the era, right? Like, you kept everything, I remember asking for tampons at school, and it was all like, you passed it to each other. And I hated Tampax for many reasons, actually, but like, because they were longer, so you couldn't hide them. So
you had to flick them up here.
You totally put it up your jersey. Like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
Yeah. Like, this is the thing that makes the world exist by birthing children, but we're told to be ashamed of it.
Totally.
So anyway, now what's your fun fact about menopause?
Well, it's not mine per se, but and I was probably in my early 20s, so I was quite like, oh my God, when it happened. But there was an older actress on Shorty, and we were in the makeup room, and she was going, and when you get all older, this happens. And she sort of exposed her breast and showed you that she had like a hair growing out of very close to
she actually
yeah, totally. We're actors. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I was like, oh God, no. But I was like, this is going to happen. Like, I've always been like that. When someone told me all about like being pregnant and giving birth, I was like, this is going to happen, and get myself really armed. It hasn't happened to me yet.
I was about to say, and so what's the hairy nature of
I don't have any random...
Fairform will come and give you New Zealand's most hirsute breasts.
Yeah, or take the award away. Can you take that? Take the award away. Not anymore.
Now Gillette will choose you to be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or tweezers.
Yeah.
Have you had, well, I was just about to ask you if you'd had hair sprouting in other places you weren't expecting, but that feels a very invasive question.
I haven't. Not that anyone's kind of pointed out. But I hope they do. Yeah. Right. I remember pointing one out to Mum the other day, and I tried to be as sort of like casual and relaxed and not like and non-judgmental about it, and she went, oh, and I was just like, I'll go get the pluckers now and pluck it out, just to try and go, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not at a place where I will leave it there.
Hell's bells, no. I mean, if there was a bunch of them, maybe.
I don't even think then.
But,
yeah.
Does your hair get thinner?
It can do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's right. One of the things.
Yeah. You know everything, so I'll be ringing you up.
I do know quite a lot about it.
Penny, this is happening to my body. Is this menopause, or should I be going to the doctor?
Yep. Honestly, it's been a total immersion therapy. But as I say, sometimes it's a bit like I feel like I can see it everywhere and stuff. But it's just been it's very privileged.
In yourself or in other people?
Both.
Yeah, right. So you're walking to the street and you go, she's perimenopausal.
Potentially. Yeah. I don't know. Or just people, and I know that a couple of my friends are like, I'm going to see the doctor. And I'm like, okay, but... might not be, but it's good. It's good. But we're talking about it and stripping away the shame.
Yeah, totally.
So is there anything you wanted to say about Shortland Street on the 30th anniversary? Anything profound or not or stupid?
Oh, no. Shortland Street's a fair way away from being menopausal, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's
midlife.
It's a big birthday. It's definitely something to be celebrated in our country and with that industry particularly.
And their training ground, right? Like you as a director,
absolutely.
You as an actor.
That's what it's always been. Bringing in people, I mean, right from the get-go, someone goes, I want to get into the film industry. Great. You come in, you start as unit, we figure out where you're going to fit, but you get to absorb and learn what the routines are and what the job is all about. Yeah. So no, it was super exciting. It was weird watching it though, because I was just like, oh, who are all these people? It's just such a weird, You
mean now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I watched it avidly.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched it for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I love the musical that came out, because it was all in that time that we all watched.
Totally.
I mean, you were
the heyday of it. The heyday era of it. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And it turned those people into absolute New Zealand superstars.
Yes.
As opposed to now where it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Not to the same extent. But it's because there was a lack of television to watch, right? So everybody watched, millions of people that used to watch That's Country and stuff like that, because that was all there was.
Yeah.
So Shortland Street didn't have a lot of competition at that beginning, and so just your Danielle Cormack, Tim Balm,
yeah, totally.
all of those people.
Yeah, if you were on TV, you were important. Yeah.
And that's bullshit.
And good looking. You know what I mean? It was like it's like, no, that doesn't. Which is why I find it interesting with my job now, because
we haven't even talked about real estate.
No, but naturally people, and this doesn't just happen in real estate, when I meet people, they trust me quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I love that. I'm a trustworthy person, so it's not
false advertising.
It's not given in the wrong direction. I find it interesting in real estate because I didn't play a character that was necessarily particularly, which is good in business, but do you know what I mean? She's an alcoholic, but I find that people are comfortable and tell me stuff, and the relationships are built much quicker, which is really advantageous for a real estate agent, because sometimes buyers are like, hold their cards close to their chest. But in actual fact, I am here to help, and I'm just trying to sell houses. Yeah. It helps to tell me what you're looking for and what your budget is and things like that. But I quite like that about it, even though I don't. Nothing about people being on TV should make them more trustworthy.
Yeah,
but it does, and it makes my job in terms of coming into a new business later in life a little bit easier.
Well, there is one thing though, like if you fuck up in any way, it can often be the front page. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there is that actually.
And therefore you haven't.
Yeah.
And so they know that if you had been this dodgy backdoor Al Jazeera reporter that got flown into New Zealand
Oh
for
my
I know. Anyway, then that would be news, and so you haven't done that. So I think there's a little bit of that.
It's interesting because I don't follow all rules, but I'm pretty rule bound. So I never think about I'm going to end up on the front page of a magazine if something goes wrong.
Right.
Plus, the training to be a real estate agent is all about how not to make a mistake.
Right. Good.
And all these protections and stuff, and how we have to behave.
And do you love it?
Yeah, I do love it.
Do you think this is it for you career-wise?
It's kind of got to be, doesn't it? How many careers are you allowed to have?
You're only 50.
But for me, I think I'm still sort of like juggling a potential acting career as well.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You want to have those two side by side.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
One has definitely not gone.
Right.
I've jumped in boots and all, and it is, to learn something and learn it well, you have to commit to it. And I'm here and working for my homeowners and doing that job well. So I don't think about committing myself to bigger gigs. So right now I'm not out there trying to get jobs as an actor.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it's gone.
Yeah.
Not at all. It would be crazy to have done something for 25 plus years in your life and then go, okay, that's done.
Right.
Who does that?
Yeah. But and variety is the spice of life. So mixing it up a bit is nice.
Totally.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, it's been absolutely delightful, and I love hearing the inside scoop on all these sorts of things, and good luck with the houses.
Oh, thank you.
No worries.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Well, that was the ever-youthful Angela Bloomfield, who seriously looks barely older than 33. We took a selfie, which you can see on Hot Pink Penny Ashton Facebook page, and I look like her granny, and she's 2 years older than me. Fascinating insights into the world of growing up in what is commonly called the sausage factory of Shortland Street there. I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to her finding love on the reality TV series Is It You or Is It Me? With the tagline, "It's time to defibrillate Angela's heart." Thanks to everyone who came to see Olive Copperbottom at Q. You are all marvellous. And coming up, I have Promise and Promiscuity at the Rose Centre in Belmont on June 22nd to 23rd, and Olive Copperbottom again in Waihi on June the 25th. Head to my Patreon if you want to support this podcast, like me on all the socials, and I'll see you next time on Showy Ovaries. I've been Dr. Margaret Cole, and here is the line I delivered in 2000 on Shortland Street. The first baby presented in the anterior position, but has moved to the posterior since coming in. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, best I get that baby out with some tongs. I think that's how it's done. Ciao!